What if making space for your child's emotions didn't mean giving up your authority as a parent? This is where so many parents get stuck. You start to learn about emotions, you begin to understand the importance of validation, and you want to do things differently. And then a question comes up, sometimes quietly, sometimes with a lot of urgency. If I let my child feel all of this, will the emotions just take over? Will they run the house? Will every moment turn into a negotiation? Will I lose control? Welcome back to Twos to Teens, Parenting Authentically Through the Seasons with Betty and Ellie. And in this episode, I don't want my child's feelings to be in charge. We are exploring one of the biggest tensions in conscious parenting. How do we make space for emotions without letting emotions run the show? Because there is a difference. There is a difference between holding space for your child's experience and handing over leadership in the moment. And there's a difference between validating what they feel and agreeing to what they want. And when that line feels blurry, parenting can start to feel exhausting. You either find yourself rushing past the emotions to get compliance or staying the emotion for so long that the moment starts to unravel. But there is a middle, a place where emotions are acknowledged and respected, and you still move forward with clarity and direction. What we begin to see is that when emotions are first met, when they are given space to move through the body, something shifts. The intensity softens, the resistance lowers, and collaboration becomes possible. Sometimes that takes seconds, other times it takes a minute or two, but not forever. There is a natural rhythm to emotions. They rise, they peak, and they begin to settle. And when we learn to recognize that moment when a child is ready to move from feeling into problem solving, we can step back into leadership in a way that feels grounded and connected. This is also where we begin to separate two ideas that often get mixed together: gentle parenting and permissive parenting. One holds empathy and boundaries, and the other lets go of structure in the name of avoiding discomfort. In this episode, we are exploring how to stay present with your child's emotion while still leading your family with clarity. Because your child's feelings are always welcome and your leadership is still needed. I'm Betty Arteaga Muriel, certified parent coach and founder of Your Parenting Story. I work with driven, high achieving parents who are thriving in their outer world but feel overwhelmed and disconnected at home. I guide them from surviving family life to leading their families with strength, compassion, and connection. And I'm so happy to be having this conversation alongside Ellie, who shares this passion for supporting parents in a deeper, more connected way. Ellie, do you want to tell a little bit about more about yourself before we dive in?
And I help parents of young children who are feeling overwhelmed with all the noise about what they feel like they should be doing find their most authentic parenting path so they can raise their kids with more confidence, connection, and joy. And I'm really excited to get started with this episode today. If you haven't listened to the first two parts of this series, go back and start there. But this is a fun one. I think gentle parenting is something that has, been in the headlines. You've been seeing it in all of the viral videos recently. And I would say almost all of those videos that you've seen aren't actually gentle parenting. They're probably permissive parenting. And so, like Betty introduced us to, there's such a difference there, right? Gentle parenting, the true definition of gentle parenting is making space for those emotions and setting and maintaining the boundaries, right? We can make space for both. Permissive parenting actually just lets the emotions run wild and lets them run the show and sit in the driver's seat and make all of the decisions. And this is when things get crazy, not just for you, but also for your child. They actually need that structure and support, right? So let's get into it today.
Yeah, and Ellie, I think that we can start with what you mentioned. There is a difference between making space to feel the emotions, to validate the experience that our kids are having, and to find ways to collaborate, and there's the other side where the emotions actually take over the whole situation, and then what we do is that we're constantly trying to get these emotions managed or to tend to them in such a way where collaboration never comes. And some parents are left feeling like my kids run the show.
Yeah. So one way that parents can start, finding that balance is to remember what we said about how emotions take 90 seconds to go through the body. So you might even start pulling out a timer, right? And timing when you see those emotions start coming up. And you're going to start to just become aware of there's a little bit of like a clunk or a click or a shift that happens after those emotions have had enough time to go through the body, right? And this is when we want to come in, and now we can come in with more leadership, like we said, and, be the parent in the situation, right? Enforce the boundaries, give the structure, give the guidance that your child needs to now move on from that emotion and do something with it, right? Um, so we might be helping them express it, even if whatever they're feeling, right? Whatever they're wanting, even if we can't meet that in the moment, we can still support our kids right after we've given them that space to feel the emotion. We can now have the conversation, help them express it, right? Help them actually find the words to say, I am so sad because my brother took the blue train and I wanted to play with the blue train. And I'm really sad about it, right? And maybe as the parent, you decide, well, you know what? It is your brother's turn with the blue train.
Mhm.
Even after they've had that feeling and they've expressed what they want, right? They've expressed their need or their desire. Maybe they still can't have the thing, and that's okay,
Mhm.
right? The important part is that experience of feeling, of expressing, of knowing their emotions are safe, knowing that they've been seen and heard, even if they can't get what they want.
Right, I hear you. You're saying yes, we there's a moment where we can get them to collaborate, and there's a moment where we can validate it and then not necessarily give them what they want. But um when if we go back just a tiny bit, because I know some parents might be like, but how do I even get there? How do I get to the point of the signal, right? What do we do when the emotion is running over? And I ask you because I know that you're very knowledgeable with in terms of the tantrums and the kids expressing these big feelings. Um, before I get, how do I survive getting to the switch point where I can start collaboration?
Yeah, it's such a experimentation process, right? Of like figuring out, because it's going to be different for every child, and then it's going to be different in different situations on different days, right? If they're hungry, if they're tired, all the things. Um and even once you've figured it out, then they're going to throw you a curveball and you're going to be like, "Wait, I thought I I thought I had it all figured out. Now what do I do?" Right? So it's such a
Mhm.
learning process. Some things that I find can be helpful are changing the scenery, right? Maybe we don't have to enforce the boundary right away.
Mhm.
Sometimes we need to let go of it just for a few minutes. And, again, we're the leaders. We're going to make sure we come back to it, but loosening up on it enough so that we can support our child with what they really need in that moment first, to enable them to get to the space where they can follow through on the rule or the direction or whatever it is, right? So changing the scenery can really help. You can be sad, you can be in your emotions or mad or whatever, but I'm gonna take her in and like, oh hey, we're gonna go walk out into the backyard, or we're going to go into the laundry room and mom is going to start folding laundry, but you can come with me, right? Changing the scenery can be really helpful. It kind of gets you more into your physical body. again, like helps you just like come back to reality, come back to the present moment. Um, and sometimes some kids really have to sit in that emotion for a while, right? I've had students where like I feel like none of my little tricks work, right? I've gotten lots of different tools I've picked up over the years. They just have to sit in it, right? And sometimes like those are the kids where I know I need to be like, okay, the class is going to move on. They're going to go do what they're going to do, but I'm going to sit here, or my assistant teacher is going to sit here and just make sure they're safe while they're feeling this. And it might take 5 or 10 minutes sometimes. They might really have to sit in it. So, even if it takes a long time, I'm going to ask you to really think about the cost and effect in the long term, right? And, if it takes you 10 minutes, how many, places that you need to be or appointments is the world really going to stop turning if you're 10 minutes late, right? In the grand scheme of things. There may be times when you truly do need to like, come on, we got to go. But it's probably less than you feel like it is. We tend to always have this urgency of like, well, we got to go. Come on, we got to do the thing. We probably don't. If you can take the 10 minutes, it's not always going to be 10 minutes, right? If you can take the 10 minutes now, it's going to start to get shorter. It's going to start to get easier. Your child's going to know that they're going to have this space to express their emotions, and that's actually going to help it go faster and go smoother. And then you are going to start to find that point where they're more receptive, right? You're going to start to notice tiny signals in their body, right? Whether it's a sigh or a deep breath after they've been crying, where they do the and you know that then you can come in with a hug, right? Or with that empathy guess, whatever it is that your child responds to. Um, so, and again, we talked about how we want them to be connected to those emotions so they can have that inner voice and so that they can relate to others in healthy ways as they grow and develop. So it's the cost and effect of like, are we going to deal with it now or are we going to deal with it later? Are we going to push it down the road or are we going to do it now? And I know that can be hard. It can be really hard when we feel like we're stuck in survival mode and there's so many things to do and there's this huge to do list and everyone needs to be somewhere else all at the same time. But the more that you can lean into this, the quicker it will go. And I have heard from parents who they felt really stressed about this. They're like, it always happens at these transition times when we need to go somewhere and like we don't have time for it when it's happening. And as we work together and we kind of take the spotlight off of that just for a little while as we're, going through the transformational parenting program and we're learning all these things and applying all these new strategies, all of a sudden they come back to me weeks later and I'm like, yes, like, how's that been going? And they're like, oh, actually, it's fine. Like he feels his feelings for like a minute and then he's ready to go and he's ready to do the thing. And I'm like, oh, wow. Right. And so it does shift. We just have to give it a little bit of space, a little bit of time. And I promise things will start to change.
Yes, I definitely hear when you're saying that. Something that I've been telling myself a lot lately, and is that emotions make your brain makes you think that emotions need urgency, but emotions actually need presence. So emotions in when it comes over, it feels urgent. And with that, I want to come to the experience that we are both having in this moment. So, your child is having this big emotion coming up. Their brain is an urgency to figure out what's happening in their body. And you are also having an emotional experience in the moment. So let's not forget, as we are getting into this moment of finding that little shift, that you also have to find yours. You have to find that little spot when you were able to really experience the moment and let that urgency come down from the message, so then you are able to collaborate as well. Because your kid might be ready, but if you are not, then we're not getting anywhere. And this comes in the sense, if we are ready to go, transition times are hard. If we are ready to go, I have a lot of urgency in that moment as a mom. I'm the responsible one. We're gonna be late. I already know, like you mentioned, how much time, the traffic, all of these things that feel very urgent to me. And if I am not able to also name the experience for myself, then I'm not gonna be able to fully be there to catch that moment when we can put shoes on and we can move out of the we can move to the car. And this might look like, okay, here we go. I see that I'm gonna go to my teen. I see that she's coming down the stairs with no shoes on, all slumpy, looking at me like she's angry. And I know she's not ready. Here it comes. And I'm starting to feel, and I know I have to go. And I'm feeling in my chest that I'm rushed. Let me breathe. Okay, so you're experiencing, and then now they're like in their moment, right, in their tantrum. I couldn't find my shoes, I had nothing to wear, and now you're hurting me. And you are in the moment with yourself. You are with them, but you are with yourself as well, identifying the emotions that are coming over for you, the needs that are coming in for you. And in that moment, even if you're not verbalizing, the modeling, that's the modeling right there. Just you in your experience in front of your child as you are both having this emotional experience. And then obviously we are expecting as adult for us to be the ones to be in leadership, which is the our topic of the day, right? We are the ones that are going to handle the situation. So if I'm able to be with myself as the emotion rise, peaks, comes down, I'm still in the body, I'm looking at my child, I'm holding space for them to feel this. Okay, you feel it looks like you are sad today. Something is making you sad and you are with them. Then because now I am in my spot for collaboration, then I can identify when they are ready to go. Now I can see that breath that they took. So
Yeah.
it's very important that where we all doing this, and Ellie mentioned the cause and effect, right? What we're doing this is that not only the cause and effect for time, can we do it fast, but also the cause and effects in me as a mom. And we can bring here back the gentle parenting versus permissive parenting. I've heard from a lot of parents that they're trying to go with the validating the emotions, but they feel so drained. They are up to here, like it's like if I have to tell you that you are okay one more time, they just can't do it. And then they explode and they're like, but why, if I did so good in all of these other moments, and then the moment comes when I can't anymore. And my question is, were you with yourself while you were attending your child? Were you paying attention to your needs? Were you paying attention to your emotions, to your body, to your thoughts as well? So this is a very when we say collaboration, it's not only about the collaboration that we see when we're moving forward in the moment, it's also that collaboration or that relational emotional experience that we are having with our kids.
Yeah, you said that so beautifully of how, in order to help our child regulate their emotions and get through their feelings, we have to address ours too. And so we might be feeling like that stress about being late, or the frustration about like, oh, this is happening again. We just did this yesterday. We get to acknowledge that and we get to be with it, instead of pushing it down, right? And in the same way that we're not going to let our children's emotions run the show, we're also not letting our emotions run the show, right? We're not letting our overwhelm about being late dictate how we're going to respond to our child. We get to have the feeling, we get to acknowledge it, and then we get to choose from our conscious self. My child's emotional regulation is actually more important in this moment than doing what I thought we were going to do at the time that I thought we were going to do it.
Ellie, I love how you mentioned and you said that you're not letting our emotions as the adult run the show. That because what it says right there is the whole point of this conversation, right? We are so focused on the kids' emotions and the experiences and how they are not able to process it, that then we don't realize that our emotions about that, it's running the show.
It's pretty ironic.
Yeah.
And it brings me to another kind of myth that I feel like has been going around as the, gentle parenting stuff has been sweeping across the internet. And it's the idea that we have to be happy for our children all the time. And we have to put on a smile and put on a brave face, right, for them. And I'm going to challenge that and say, and I think you could guess this if you've listened to the parts before this, our children need to see us experiencing different emotions, to know that they're okay to feel, to know that they're safe to feel, right? We are not doing our child any favors by pretending to be happy and then exploding one day because we have all this stored up anger and frustration and overwhelm, right? Our children don't need us to be happy all the time. They need to see us authentically in our emotions, and they need to see us taking responsibility for our own emotions. Expressing our emotions in front of our children does not mean that we are putting our emotions on our children, right?
Mhm.
And I think it's really easy to have a fear of this or to just assume that's what will happen because a lot of us probably experience this as children because our parents were not in touch with their emotions authentically. They were not expressing them authentically. They were doing the push it down, push it down, push it down, push it down. And now all of a sudden, I'm screaming at you, and it's actually about 100 other things that I didn't react from, right? It's not authentic. And when that happens, we internalize that as like, when mom or dad gets mad, right? Now it's my job to like fix it, or, it's my fault that they were mad. However, it is that you internalize that, we become scared of doing the same thing. And in that fear, we might inadvertently do the same thing,
Mhm.
right? So I challenge you to flip the script and just see what happens if you can feel your own emotions, express them in front of your child, give your child permission to feel their emotions, and just start experimenting with finding that balance between feeling the emotions, yours and theirs, and then making choices and enforcing boundaries from a very conscious, aligned, grounded place.
Yes, and I think that is our beautiful commitment with what I like to call conscious parenting. Our beautiful commitment is that we are all very aware that we are having a human experience and what it comes with it, the emotions, the feelings, the relational awareness that comes with it, the empower conversations that we're able to have from understanding these emotions and feelings. And those empower conversations are going to be the ones that we're telling them how to create create that space for their feelings, to know that their feelings matter, that their needs matter, that we are there with them even when they are not having the best time. So our parenting and our love then switches from what they feel is conditional to just radical acceptance of who we are, who our kids are. And from that place of radical acceptance, then we can start shifting things. Then we can start making changes, good changes in our family, because we are not going from shame, right? We are not going from guilt. We are not going from the pressure and urgency of doing things how society wants us to do it. We are going from our internal experience and how the people around us receives it. And Ellie, I think that with this, we can give them a little sneak peek of what we're gonna talk about next week. And there is a misconception that some emotions are bad, that some emotions are good, and that I think the emotion that gets the biggest misconception is anger. And Ellie, what are we gonna do about that?
In the next episode, we are going to look at anger. We are going to flip the script again. We're going to give you a new perspective to consider, so that you can actually welcome your anger, so that you can invite it to sit with you at the table, take a seat, and let you know what it's thinking. Because, like all of our emotions, anger is there to be a communicator. So, we'll get all into that in the next episode. But for right now, I would love it if you comment below. Where is it the most difficult for you to make space for your child's emotions? Right? What part of the day, or maybe which emotion, is the hardest for you to make space for? Let us know, and I'm sure a lot of you will have the same answers, which will be pretty cool to see. But before we go, Betty, tell us where parents can find you.
Yes, if today's conversation resonated with you and you're feeling that pull to grow in the way you show up in your parenting, I'd love to connect with you. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at your underscore parenting underscore story, where I share tools, reflections, and resources for driven parents who want their parenting to reflect both fierce leadership and compassion. You can also visit yourparentingstory.com for resources, more information about my work, and to schedule a free curiosity call where we can explore what's coming up in your parenting and what support might look like for you. And if you'd rather reach out to me directly, you can always email me at coachbetty@yourparentingstory.com. I'll love to hear from you. And what about you, Ellie? How can we contact you?
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you are ready to do this work and really put it into action, I would love to work with you. You can go to my website at elliechasecoaching.com, where you can schedule a free curiosity call so we can start to get to know each other and I can tell you a little bit about how we could work together. You can also sign up for my newsletter there, and find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Ellie Chase Coaching, so you can see all of this content, see any free classes I have coming up or anything like that. So we will see you on the next one. But remember, wherever you are from twos to teens, you've got this.